Ah yes, browsers. For the past god knows how many years, I've heard the names of different browsers being thrown around as alternatives to Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. Just use Arc. Have you tried Opera GX? Zen browser. Do you even know Floorp? Clearly never used Brave. Enough! I'll have to see for myself. My eyes saw every browser as one of these. Under the hood, some of these might just be Chrome or Firefox, but it's the interface that makes a difference. Well, that and privacy and memory usage but that's not the point. This is a UI video. So I looked up a list of browsers hoping that such a thing exists. And of course it did. I found this really helpful GitHub page with an almost full list of desktop browsers and a few other browsers that weren't on that list. And that's where the grind began. I searched, installed, and tested every browser I found, looking for ones with more unique UIs. Some I've used before, some I've never even heard of. And finally came up with a set of criteria to put them to test. The onboarding, how intrusive it is, how much you can customize it, how easy it is to navigate, if it's clean and clutter-free, if it follows every UI principle, and if it has enough features to manage tabs. I also keep an eye out for extension support, keyboard-focused browsers, aesthetically pleasing or unique designs, extras like note-taking and stuff, and AI features. These are not my criteria for rating, but I still like to consider them. Finally, I'm gonna put the browsers in this tier list. Let me start with the most popular one, Google Chrome. Its onboarding is pretty simple. It asks you to enter a name and customize the theme, and after that, it basically leaves you alone. I understand this mostly because it's widely adopted, but still, it gets the full point. I'd say Chrome's design is polished, consistent icons, and design language. Navigating in Chrome is simple, probably the most widely recognized. You open a tab like this, right-click on it, add it to a tab group, label the group with a name and color, drag other tabs into the group, and it labels them with this line. You can then collapse and expand the tab group to reserve space. And using this button, you can search all your tabs and tab groups. Pretty simple. Everything else you can find in here, extensions, history, downloads, etc. You can customize your toolbar by adding whichever one of these options you want and dragging them around to your liking. Interestingly, Chrome supports all the extensions in the Chrome Web Store. Well, almost all. Since this is the biggest extension store ever, you'll find it on many other browsers too. And that's Chrome for you, which makes it to the solid tier. That being said, I stopped using Chrome a long time ago, and if you're still using it, I'm kind of curious to know if you would switch to something else by the end of this video or not. The next browser is the world's most used browser to download Chrome, Microsoft Edge. We're often so mean to it. So to show my good faith and actually give Edge a try, I decided to download and install Edge on macOS. Hey Microsoft, I want to bash for this, by the way. The onboarding was pretty simple. It asked me if I want to set it as my default browser, if I want to make a Microsoft account. No. And a bunch of other visual preferences. Wait, I didn't know Edge had vertical tabs. That was the beginning of my journey. Ow, that's not nice. The other icons were fortunately more consistent and the UI follows most principles. Though there are some inconsistencies here and there, like this one or this one. They just don't belong when you compare them to the other boxes. I tried customizing everything from the theme to the tab layout and the sidebar. See, we've just entered the realm of browsers with a sidebar. They give you the chance to fit some of the stuff you use regularly in the sidebar instead of opening them in a pop-up or in full page like Chrome. And in Edge, the sidebar can house all sorts of apps and AI chat boxes. But a good sidebar in a browser is a sidebar that is customizable and not just more room for clutter. So in Edge, you can remove all of this if you don't like it. There are a lot of nice features to enhance your edging experience, like creating a tab collection to check out later without keeping all the tabs open, screenshotting anywhere on the page you want, or creating a split screen. Another great thing is that you get both Edge add-ons and Chrome extensions. I think Edge is worth at least one honest try. And well, I did my honest trial, and I'm putting it in the decent tier. Now it's time for Firefox. The whole onboarding was pretty smooth, and Firefox's layout looks pretty simple, and everything is where you expect it to be. The icons are pretty consistent and give proper feedback, like the sidebar icon that perfectly captures the expected outcome from clicking on it. Though I don't know why the AI chatbot and recent browsing have the same icon. Or why different icons have completely different container sizes and paddings. Then there are some inconsistencies, like the sidebar font is so huge in the settings, but way smaller in the Firefox view, or how there are two manage bookmark buttons in here. Now, to make the browser really mine, I'm gonna add a color to the background, but that's about it for the native theme options. Luckily, Firefox supports way more extensive themes too that can make it look completely different. I like how the toolbar customization is way easier than Chrome, and there are actually some really handy settings. I can't remove the address bar, which is such a shame, though I can add a search engine bar. I tried customizing the sidebar too, but besides showing or hiding these options and switching to vertical vertical tabs, there's not much else. I can't add more stuff here, which I assume it's because they need to coexist with vertical tabs, so they can't be too many. Firefox has the same basic tab management capabilities as Chrome, and fortunately Firefox supports the Firefox add-ons, which is a nice selection of all sorts of extensions and themes. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the AI chat. You basically select an AI signing with your account, and every time you're on a page you can highlight a certain chunk of text and use these available commands. It's gonna be interesting comparing this with other browsers. After considering all the aspects and giving it way too much thought, I decided to put Firefox in the solid tier. I've heard of this other Firefox-based browser a lot. It's called Floorp. The layout and UI are really similar to Firefox, but when it comes to native customization, Floorp sends Firefox home. There are so many things to customize, I can't even name them all. There are also some more tab positions and extra tab options like multi-row tabs. You can customize all the keyboard shortcuts and all the icons in the sidebar too, though Floorp kinda misses when it comes to navigation. The sidebar is really cool and gives you quick access to everything you might want, note-taking, different web apps, and so on, but it's also a little confusing. I have my bookmarks, history, and stuff here. Cool. What happens if I click on this? Oh. And to make it worse, if I choose vertical tabs, I get this. Also, why are the icons so confusing? 2 back buttons? No, this one reopens closed tabs. 2 reload buttons? No, this one just switches the sidebar position. I understand that it's super customizable and you can get all the duplicates out of your way, but I don't understand why there are duplicates in the first place. All this aside, I think Floorp is a much stronger Firefox, so I'm putting it in the amazing tier. Other Firefox-based browsers like qutebrowser for accessing the Tor network, or LibreWolf, which is a privacy-focused fork of Firefox, have a very similar UI to Firefox, but are way more minimal with fewer customization options. So I'm putting them in mid. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being mid. DuckDuckGo is another privacy-focused browser. It had a really cool intro. I loved the animations and how it introduced me to different features interactively. And then the layout was very familiar and easy to use, yet with a unique style of its own that's polished and consistent. I especially liked the icons. They actually helped me navigate the browser much faster. I think it's partly because they're color-coded, though I was a little disappointed when I found not so many things to customize. Well, it's funny because the search engine offers a lot more for that. The toolbar up here seems to be pretty empty and there's not much to modify about it except adding or removing these set options. It's actually the least cluttered browser I've seen so far, like you couldn't clutter it if you wanted to. I also noticed this AI chatbot icon for Duck AI, which opens in a new tab and allows you to chat with different models without saving your history. Also, unless you remove the icon in the settings, it's always in the address bar. Same as these 2 reminders to pin DuckDuckGo to the taskbar or set it as your default browser. I mean, I kinda expect the options to open a new tab or incognito tab first thing here, but instead I see these. You know what, okay, so there is no way to get rid of them. What happened to don't ask again? One cool thing about the browser though is the way they use fire to burn the data you don't want saved. It literally burns. You can pin tabs or fireproof them, aka saving your data when you're burning everything else. But there's no tab grouping or any other tab managing capability. Finally, the DuckDuckGo browser doesn't support any third-party extensions. Wait, what? Did I read that correctly? Oh, it seems like I did. I don't know how to feel about that. In general, DuckDuckGo is a simple browser with a pretty UI and I'm putting it in the mid-tier before moving on to yet another privacy-focused browser. A fan favorite, a cult classic. Brave browser. It did have an onboarding, but there was only 1 question about my preferences and 3 about Brave itself, like set it as my default browser or if I want to share anonymous search signals or product insights, and that was it. No theme selection or anything else. Right off the bat, I noticed a lot of Brave branded things like Brave Talk to call your friends, Brave VPN that has a free trial, Brave rewards that give you tokens for the private ads you see in Brave. Whoa, what? Fortunately, it's totally optional and I turned it off. Then you have Leo AI, which is available as a whole tab and on the sidebar and answers questions based on the current page content, and there's Brave Wallet. The good thing is you can hide all of these if you want to. Speaking of that, there are other things to customize too, like vertical tabs or keyboard shortcuts or different elements here and there. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But you can't customize the toolbar or change your theme without installing them from the extension store. Since Brave is based on Chromium, it shares a lot of UI elements with it, though they've designed their own set of icons to match their own features. The animations and transitions are a little goofy, and I feel like a lot of the UI elements could improve. Like this navigation bar is too saturated and the red started hurting my eyes after a while. I know it's their color, but it doesn't have to be shoved somewhere in the UI like this and barely anywhere else. You have the sidebar over here that opens bookmarks or reading lists and other Brave products right in the sidebar, but But if you add a new website or app to it, it just acts as a quick access button that opens the site in full screen, not the sidebar. Wow, I wonder where I got the impression that it might do that. And the settings icon just takes you to the settings page with the word sidebar being searched. And going through this, I can see that there's no way to add a new section like downloads or history to open in the sidebar. This seems like such wasted potential. Despite the fact that Brave supports all the Chrome extensions and feels like a pretty utilitarian browser, for UI, it gets into the mid-tier. The next browser is Vivaldi. The onboarding was sweet. It asks all the questions about my theme preferences, where I want to put my tabs in any of the 4 sites. The UI, though, it is beautiful. Not only is everything styled in a unique way, but the UX in places like settings is pretty impressive. Especially since there's like a gajillion options in the browser, but everything is categorized neatly and the animations are smooth. The layout is pretty familiar too, and there's a sidebar where you could pin anything you want and it opens right in the sidebar. And because everything you need is accessible, there is no extra Chrome-style menu. Everything is right here. The settings, zoom, capturing the screen, bookmarks, history, downloads, everything. And you can customize not just the themes or tabs, but also the toolbar up here, the sidebar over here, and the status bar at the bottom. You can completely change the way the browser looks like for yourself. Like you can make your own theme break by break and change even the icons, all natively. There are more options than I could possibly talk about in this video. Tab management has a lot of features too. I generally like all the quality of life features and helpful menus filled with options, but my only complaint is that sometimes, when there are too many elements next to each other, there's just not enough contrast, especially with the background color. Finally, Vivaldi does support all Chrome extensions. In general, Vivaldi is very well thought out and it deserves the highest tier. Now to wrap up the popular cross-platform browsers, it's time to test Opera. I'll talk about the onboarding in a bit, but one thing that kind of weirded me out was how during the installation, all 3 Opera browsers set themselves as default and pinned themselves to the taskbar, and the option to disable that behavior is initially hidden inside here. So you would have to expand this and change it if you want. It was the first browser I've seen with this stealthy kind of behavior. The onboarding itself was pretty smooth though. They asked me to select my preferences for a bunch of different things. The general layout of all these 3 Opera browsers are very similar. I mean, they're literally the same, and the only different thing is the styling. Opera itself is like a middle ground. Opera GX is more gamery, and Opera Air is much calmer, as you can see. All of these browsers have lots of options to customize, both the general look and feel, and the little details, which are way more in Opera GX. All that said, the settings are the exact problem I have with Opera. All of the settings are on the same page, and you gotta keep scrolling down or use these different section markers. And it kind of becomes confusing because these are just a bunch of random headings. There are tons of other important sections that are listed in no clear order. The only way to use it fast and easy is to use search. I don't know why it couldn't just be like every other browser. Opera might not have a lot of tab managing features or even vertical tabs, but it kind of compensates with other extra features, like resource monitoring, pinboards to save stuff for later, or taking a break feature. I thought Opera browsers only supported Opera add-ons, but then I remembered they're Chromium, so you already know the deal. And there you have it, 3 Opera browsers for different types of people: gamers, non-gamers, and Animal Crossing players. A funny story, Opera has an AI called Arya, and it answers questions in different modes, either while browsing or in the sidebar chat. But beside that, Opera is working on a new AI browser called Opera Neon. Well, this is an example of when a browser company, any browser company, sees agentic AI as the future of browsing, meaning an AI that will get tasks done for you and not just summarize a page. Interesting choice of example use case, by the way. Still, I'm really curious to see how widely these agentic AI browsers get adopted. On a completely irrelevant note, I just realized we haven't tried any macOS browsers, so let's see how they work. Starting with Safari. Safari's design is pretty invisible and it doesn't have an introduction. It mainly has horizontal tabs, but vertical tabs are also visible inside the tab groups on the sidebar. If Safari looks too empty, it's because everything sits in the sidebar. I'd say if you come from another browser, Safari might look too barebone and soulless. It just follows Apple's design language. But if you don't like this, there are some customization options, mostly for the new page look. But just like many other macOS apps, the toolbar is fully customizable. You can even remove the address bar if for some reason you want to. Tabs have 2 distinct looks too, even though you're probably gonna have to say goodbye to this one because they removed it in macOS Tahoe. Now let's actually use Safari. What can I say? It's all just that simple. The extension situation on Safari is even simpler. Safari doesn't support Chrome extensions and instead a limited selection of Safari extensions that you can get from the App Store. Now, I don't know with this mix of clean UI and lack of features where to put Safari.
How about decent? If you want a Safari that's more than decent, you have Orion.
The movie in the beginning was pretty fun, 10 out of 10, and then I got to choose my own preferences too. Orion is similar to Safari, so if you're coming from there, and I'm sure you're already familiar with it. The same simple layout, but everything you don't get on Safari, you get here sevenfold. There are so many more things to customize, from themes to tab layout, and unlike Safari, it does have vertical tabs. That is, without simultaneously seeing the horizontal tabs. Nice thing about Orion is that your tab groups, aka windows, are pretty well organized. All the options of what to view are up here and not taking space down here like Safari. The system works well, but it's a little buggy. Like, opening windows from this menu tends to mess everything up. But this is just a nitpick compared to the massive amount of features on Orion. Like tweaks that allow you to modify the font, color, and even elements on the websites you visit. Or focus mode, which hides all the UI and then shows it when you hover near the edge. Or the programmable button that does any action you want. So yeah, a fully feature-packed toolbar. Surprisingly, Orion supports extensions from both the Chrome Web Store and Firefox add-ons. In general, it wouldn't be justice not to give Orion an A for amazing.
Time to talk about the next generation. Browsers have focused more on design. And speaking of design, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Mobbin. Mobbin is a massive library for design research and inspiration. Hundreds of thousands of screens from apps in every category are collected here, with their design updates, so you can find great design examples for both apps and websites. You can search and browse among different categories, UI elements, and flows. Plus, their community is priceless. Everyone saved their favorite UX solutions and UI inspos into these collections and curated the best list you could ask for as a designer. Plus, the community can rate different apps, so it's not just perfect designs, but actual feedback for real app designs that you can use in designing your own apps too. And the best part is they keep adding new screens, apps, and features regularly. I even sent a request to the team to add a search history, and they did it in no time. Mobbin is my go-to, my GOAT, 10 out of 10. You can use my link in the description to try Mobbin for free. Are you obsessed with cool shit? Yeah? Well, same. I started to feel bored after trying so many mainstream browsers, until I came across this browser, and I soon became obsessed right about the start of its onboarding. It was super interactive, and it mostly relied on keyboard shortcuts for navigation, but that was half the fun. I don't know about you, but because I'm constantly doing research, note-taking like this is a lifesaver for me. I like the Obsidian Web Clipper and other browsers to save parts of web pages, but this is a really cool built-in feature too. But that aside, the UI itself is super clean, and there's somehow even less on the screen than Safari. And it handles tab groups in a simple way like Chrome. Another interesting thing I noticed about it is how each tab has its own address box, which saves a lot more space. And I like the little micro interactions too. Now, there are 3 things lacking in Beam: detailed customization, extensions, and updates. I wonder why all the cool projects gotta get abandoned. All things considered, I'd still say Beam is pretty decent. Beam is still there if you want to use it, but since they mentioned Arc Browser in their last message, let's go give that a try. I hope that one's not abandoned. Arc Browser had so much hype around it in the beginning, and I kept wondering, how good can it be? Until I installed it a year ago, and after seeing the onboarding with the theme selection, I realized why it's so hyped. Beside the clean visuals, really cool micro interactions, and a minimal UI focused on using vertical tabs, and lots of features under the hood, the entire idea of Arc was pretty new to me. It's gesture-based, but works well with keyboard shortcuts. And it doesn't look like it, but Arc has everything that the other browsers have and more. I heard some people like the AI features on Arc, which were mostly for quick searching or asking a quick question. Split screen is also a quick gesture away, though the AI chat won't have access to the other tabs' contexts. And this is another AI feature that cleans everything up when I have too many tabs. Guess I can also make a folder from this? Huh, not bad. What else can I make? What's an easel? Okay, so it's basically a note-taking / doodling kind of thing. And the cool thing about it is I can go to any web page and capture whichever part of it and save it as an image to my easel. And what's a boost? Oh, it tweaks the websites. Ah, finally. Evil Steam. Let's see what other boosts we can find in the community. Wait, what?
There's nothing. What's happening? Oh, they're working on a new browser called Deta? Well, we gotta check it out. But before that, since Arc meets my criteria, I'm putting it in the amazing category. Now, on to Deta. Deta is currently in beta, so I'm not expecting too much from it, but the first impression was alright, though the initial charm of Arc wasn't there. The browser itself looked pretty similar to Chrome, with a bit of an artistic touch. Tabs matching the page color and the animations here and there. But that aside, Deta seems heavily focused on AI. The search bar both searches the web and talks to the AI chat. I mean, if the query starts with a question, it prioritizes the chat. But if it doesn't, it searches Google, though both are available anyway. Then there's an AI chat sidebar on every tab that uses a tab's context or anything else that you tag. Could be other tabs or browsing history. So the chat is much more personalized than what we've seen in other browsers. And that's pretty much all that the UI has to offer. There's very limited customization, and vertical tabs were added later to satisfy Arc users. I just wish appearance settings were less scattered here and there and not everything was shoved inside one app menu. There's still a lot of room for improvement here, and I'd say Deta is pretty mid. In the meantime, I'm excited to check out another Arc-style browser called Zen. Zen's onboarding was as calm as the name and helped me set up everything I wanted, though I wish I could get an actual preview of the theme settings, because nothing was visible for me. Zen's overall layout and design is pretty similar to Arc, but unlike Arc, it's based on Firefox, and it's much more customizable than Arc. Like, beside the fact that there are multiple layout options, the toolbar is entirely customizable too. There are a lot more things to customize in the settings, like there's this mod store with mods that users created. The customization is probably my favorite thing about Zen, though I gotta admit that Zen being generally more lightweight is the best thing about it. There's not much bloat, not too many extra features or UI elements here and there like Arc. Just a good simple browser with every feature that Firefox has, and it improves on a lot of things that Arc offered. The only nitpick I have is that I know there's a keyboard shortcut for toggling compact mode on and off, but I don't see an icon for it anywhere on the UI. I think Zen gets a lot of the UI points, and I'd put it in the amazing tier. There's another browser called Surf from Deta that I think deserves way more attention. Surf had such an artistic and creative onboarding, and I was instantly surprised to see that this is the first Arc-style browser I've seen with a horizontal tab option. The UI has way less clutter, like even this context menu is simpler compared to Arc. It mostly has a note-taking focus mixed with an AI chat. That's pretty similar to Deta, the way it handles context and answers questions about the open tabs. And contexts here are like workspaces, I guess. I can modify them from here, each of them with their own set of tabs. Wait, what? That animation was so cool. I kind of like these micro interactions, and I don't know, it kind of motivates me to close my tabs more often. I used to be a very dedicated open tabs enthusiast, but over the years I've gotten used to closing my tabs very regularly. Like, I'm talking max 3 tabs open, and that's if I really need all of them at once. You might not be like me, it's okay, but seriously, close those tabs. Like right now, I can see you. I also noticed that if I want to bookmark a tab, it gets saved the same way that a note does, which is a creative and different way of adding context to bookmarks. Look, the browser has a wholesome general outlook, but the details are a little off. Everything is everywhere, but some obvious things are missing, like if I'm on the notes page, why isn't there a button to create a new note? Finally, it looks like Surf supports a very limited number of Chrome extensions, but I think there's a lot of potential, so I'm putting it here. Another beautiful browser is SigmaOS. Okay, the onboarding is going pretty well. You can't be serious with this animation. Okay, there's a pro subscription. What for? Let's see. Oh, for the AI. Got it. I really like this step-by-step tutorial where different sections show up gradually. This browser is very unique in the way it approaches browsing as task management. Like here, I have a bunch of workspaces, each for a different project I'm working on. And to close a tab, I mark it as complete. Or lock it if I wanted to just stay here. Maybe snooze it too. You might notice this colored outline here based on the website's colors. It's because of the magic theme that adapts as you browse. And yeah, that's pretty much all the visual customization you get. For other things though, there are a lot of built-in options to choose from. Search engine, password manager, ad blocker, or other interaction-based features. Use WebKit for extension support? Okay, where are the extensions? Seriously, where are they? They're in the extensions panel? Oh, in the sidebar. It also supports Chrome extensions, so let's check the Chrome Web Store. Okay, I don't think I can get these. Let me try removing this disabled attribute from the button. And still doesn't work. I guess these ones work for now. Beside all this, I really like the approach this browser has to split screen, the way you can have any two tabs next to each other. Now let's talk about the AI because it's everywhere. The basics are the same as Dia or Surf, but the personalization UI is obviously well thought out and has a more simplified keyboard UX. To wrap it all up, SigmaOS has a unique UI, and for that, I'm putting it in this tier. Unrelated question, do you like horses? How about a browser with a horse on it? Horse browser is more than just a browser with a horse on its homepage and vertical tabs. It's made up of vertical trails of tabs designed for ADHD. In other browsers, after I open a new tab to search something, I lose track of the tab I was on before, so I start clicking around to find it. But here I can open a new tab in the trail so I know exactly where I was. And look how the other trails become less and less apparent the further down the trail I go. This actually helps me focus so much better. The browser is just so minimal and manages to fit so much in such little space. And I like the clean UI and the cute icons. But there are some things to consider. 1. Horse browser is paid with a 7-day free trial. 2. It doesn't have many options to customize it visually. 3. It doesn't support any extensions yet, but according to their roadmap, it's soon to come. And 4. I know I can write notes wherever I want in the browser, but I can't find a way to save them, so what's the point? I like Horse browser, its UI, and what its mission is, but it feels like it still has a long way to go, so I'm putting it in the minimal tier. Later, I found a similar browser, and it's called Mirror. This browser has a similar mission too. Let's organize those tabs. And they showed me exactly how in the little onboarding movie. Basically, there are multiple workspaces and each of them have different sessions. Then inside each of these, there are very simple vertical tabs and a button to quickly make a new tab group. They're not really trails, but it's still possible to achieve some level of organization. And don't worry about all the open tabs because apparently they're put to sleep when they're not in use. I appreciate that there's a theme customization and I can hide or show the sidebars, but I wish there were more options like hiding the sessions up here. Regardless of the icon inconsistency or the need for UI refresh, Mirror feels like a really simple solution to having multiple workspaces. And I'm putting it in, there's potential. You know, there are other alternatives too. Let's check out Kosmik. The idea is similar, but I feel like it's a bit more complicated than Mirror. There's a sidebar with all the universes or topics, and they repeat again up here. Inside each universe, there's a big canvas for research and a little browser. I'm thankful to the document explaining how Kosmik works in the beginning because it took me a while to figure it out. But this layout kind of shocked me. I know I can collapse the sidebar, but there's still so much going on up here. If you look at the canvas like a desktop with a browser and an image viewer and a text editor, plus a huge space for research or making mood boards, it might make sense. The AI search up here creates a stack with the random search results. I'd personally rather just look at my options in a list instead and then capture the stuff I want. I know the UI is pretty neat, but the UX could definitely improve, so I'm putting it in there's potential. Let's try the next alternative, Wavebox. In the beginning, I had to create an account on Wavebox and select a couple of different apps and websites for different parts of my life. My first impression of Wavebox was that it's based on Chrome, but with its own UI that sometimes feels out of place or inconsistent, especially when it comes to icons. The spacing or sizing feels kind of weird too, but it's nothing that can't be fixed with a little refresh. Visuals aside, the browser is very capable. Like, I'm actually astonished by how many things I can customize and how detailed the customization settings page is. The idea of the browser is separating and managing different apps and websites from different aspects of life. I didn't like this layout too much, but there are other options that I like, more specifically this one. That looks more like vertical tabs with trails. In general, Wavebox works, but it really needs to improve visually, so I'm putting it here. The next browser in the line was supposed to be Sidekick because of its similarity to Wavebox, but in the middle of my research, I realized it got shut down because they joined Perplexity's Comet browser. And yes, I got a free invite, so let's pause and check Comet. The intro had a nice vibe to it. I don't know what's with the planets, if it's just for customization or will serve some actual purpose later. The general UI doesn't immediately yell Chrome like Dia, which is good, and the toolbar is pretty simple overall. It mostly just hosts the AI buttons. And the settings are in here, I guess? No, it's here? But this looks like the tab search icon on Chrome. I'm generally happy that the UI is so clean and focused on usability. Like the homepage with the widgets is pretty useful for all sorts of things you might want quick access to, especially prompts that you use often. All this aside, the whole point of Comet is the AI agent that gets things done on your behalf. So let's give it a try. Seems like their example is how Comet solves today's Wordle. It doesn't always work though. I tried another website and it failed. So I had to do it myself, which is like the whole point of Wordle. The search box comes with a lot of options too, like this shortcut creator, so you don't have to repeat the same prompt every time. Just an idea though, maybe let me add some of these shortcuts next to these for even faster searching. Beside all this, Comet has almost every other basic Chrome feature, so considering the UI and all, it's a decent browser. The next one is Biscuit, kinda like Wavebox,
which is a lot simpler. It's basically just the apps you use regularly, and there was no introduction to add your favorite apps to the sidebar, just a few examples. Good thing I can go to another address from this app. Ah yes, Google Drive, my favorite streaming platform. Let's make a new group. Well, hello Material 2. I'm gonna add a bunch of different apps to it, and that's it. That's the browser. Yeah, there's a split screen and stuff, but that's mostly it. There's not a lot to customize here either, but I don't think you'd be bothered by that if you're choosing this browser. Biscuit is minimal, and the UI is not pretty, and therefore it's perfectly mid. Speaking of minimal, let's check out a browser that really puts the min in minimal. I love how there's a proper tour of it that teaches me how to use different things. To be honest, it's much more fun to use it with a keyboard, and the shortcuts are mostly the same as the other browsers, so it's super easy to get started with it. There's not a lot to say. The browser mostly revolves around tasks, and everything is accessible just by typing an exclamation mark in the address bar. And I can easily make my own commands too. I actually switched to Min for a while for quick searching and distraction-free browsing, and really enjoyed it. It's also kind of nice that the theme changes with every tab. The only thing Min lacks is proper extension support, but we are assessing the UI, and based on that, I'd put Min in, you'll never guess. At this point, I came across a bunch of other minimal browsers. I like these browsers a lot, especially Cargo, because even the lack of interface is an interface in itself. But I was so disappointed to realize that all of them were long gone, just like Beam. What is it about minimal browsers? Is it like a curse? Is less not more when it comes to browsers? Because these browsers still work more or less, I'm gonna put them in proper places on the tier list. But we're not done yet. We got keyboard-focused browsers to try. Starting with Vieb. No, not Vieb. Vieb is like Vim for browsers. I can open a new tab, go on explore mode, search something, go up, go down, use a pointer to navigate, or go in follow mode to just navigate with keyboard shortcuts. I can search something on the page, then go back in history, close the current tab, then write a command to, I don't know, switch to vertical tabs maybe? Oh yeah, this browser is way more than you think, and works just as fine with a mouse too. And good news, it's still in development. I've been using it more and more since I've known about it, and it's really smooth and simple, so I'm putting it in minimal. Vieb has its own alternatives too, like qutebrowser. The keyboard shortcuts here are way simpler, and the UI is way more minimal, and there are very few mouse interactions. Is it cute? Well, debatable, but it's generally cleaner and fits a lot of information in tighter space. Plus, the shortcuts are a lot easier for me to remember. qutebrowser is also still in development with an active community, so that's good news. And because of the barebone UI, it goes right here. You know what's next? Nyxt. Come on, it was a little funny. Nyxt had a steeper learning curve because the shortcuts were different, but Nyxt narrows it all down to these two. And to be fair, they're pretty much enough to get started. I don't like memorizing things, so instead of looking at all the key bindings, I decided to search every command I needed and learn the shortcuts along the way. I realized that Nyxt is much more powerful compared to Vieb or qutebrowser, and is a billion times more customizable. And I would try customizing it if I knew the language. But because of all that, I can neither put it here nor here. So I guess I'll pick an on between. I guess that wraps up my experience with these unique modern browsers. In general, I think Vivaldi, Zen, and Orion are better versions of the big three. But browser UIs could still get even better. So I'm excited to see the next big thing. So what do you think? What's your favorite browser UI? Tell me in the comments. Well, that's all for this video. If you liked it, make sure you do your magic down below, and see you on the next one.